from Stampin' Eat, and welcome to another card making session with me. Super excited to have you back and super excited to be showing you how to do this amazing technique. Now, I do want to just give credit. The inspiration for this technique came from Gail Ellis from Blue Rose Paper, I think her blog name is. However, as always, I changed things up just a tad from her original design, but in the demonstrating card making world, that's exactly what we do. We get inspired by others, we either copy them exactly or we do our own thing. So for this card, I want to feature this technique where we use torn paper, what do you call those, post-it notes, and we're going to do some blending. And I also used for the flowers and the bee, I used the bundle, the Queen Bee bundle, but I actually used the dies from the Queen Bee bundle. And to be specific, let me just get them for you. I used the flowers, I used the little, whoops, mustn't drop them, they're really small. I used the little bee with its matching wings, and I used the little flowers. Let me just grab them for you. I used these little flowers. So you're going to need some basic white cardstock, you're going to need smoky slate cardstock, and you're going to need, what is it called, Coastal Cabana cardstock, and some Flirty Flamingo. The only thing I've used here that is retired is my layering circle die to create this little circle around there. So I am going to go through this card and showing you exactly how to do this technique, and I'll have all the measurements on each part of it as we get to it. So you're going to need a base, and I think it's 5 1/4 by 10 1/2 of basic white cardstock, and you're just going to burnish that, fold that in half and burnish that. You then have a smoky slate matte and another basic white matte, and we can actually matte these on because we're going to be working on a smaller piece of basic white. And I hope that the storm that is happening outside at the moment is not coming through on the microphone. We have a massive storm moving through at the moment. I was teaching card class this morning, so I couldn't record my normal videos in the morning. So that's just as if what it is. We had an amazing time together this morning. Okay, so you can glue those on, and as I say, I will come back after I've videoed this and the measurement should be on top. Then I'm going to set this to the side. You're not going to work, we're going to work with the Coastal Cabana. We will set to the side until right at the end, and you're going to have a 5 by 5 inch square of paper, and I am going to bring in some protector sheet here now, because we're going to work on recreating this pattern. So what I did was I figured out, I took a piece of scrap basic white, as you can see, I'll just get it straight. I took a piece of scrap basic white and I took a circle, the largest one without the little patterns, and I die cut a circle. You can use a punch. It's definitely wider than 2.5 inches, and using my grid paper as a guide, getting that nice and straight, I positioned this circle in the middle of my square, and I used masking paper, sorry. And because it's raining here again, it's raining again in New Zealand, if you're using masking paper, or actually that one I put on the top, let's just take that off. I put this one on the side. So what you're doing is you're wanting to just keep the ink from seeping underneath there, and for the top I just used ordinary post-it notes. I felt that that was going to be okay. I was going to get away with that. All right. So you want to make sure when you're using masking paper that you really flint it, or take off the fluff, because it will pull up on your paper. Now in this case it's not a big deal because I have created a mask, but it could potentially be a big deal. And then you just need to take a post-it note, and keeping the sticky side where you're going to work, you're going to just tear it, and you're going to form I'm going to use the same one, and we're going to see how interesting this is. So I'm working with my smoky slate first, and what I noticed was there were one or two little tiny gaps where I hadn't created the gap properly. If you have a look, you'll see them, but I was actually okay with that. So we're going to layer this. So first of all, you need a blending brush, and I'm using mine that's allocated for gray. And you're just going to pick up some ink, lightly dab it on the side, and then holding this post-it note in place. Bear in mind I have used it for this other card sample. Just pick up some more ink. There we go. And you're going to blend, and then lifting up the post-it note. You're now going to create an angle. So we're looking, and you see that gap? I'm just going to cover it like that. We don't want that gap. We want that gap covered. Oops, didn't do so well at lifting it. Okay. And honestly, this is really, let's just go and have a look. Cool. I might just come in a little bit here with that little triangle that I created. There we go. Better. And I'm going to come one last time across there. I might just actually bring a new piece because I can feel this guy's not doing his job as well. So I'm just going to bring that in. It is so wet here at the moment that all the papers got saturated with moisture, so it's battling a bit. Okay, let's lift that up. Let's have a look. Love it. Now I'm going to put the grey away. So I'm going to close my ink pad, and I'm moving my grey blending brush to the side. Now we're going to come in with the Coastal Cabana. So doing the same, I'm just looking for my thing. I'm just going to move this to at an angle, and I'm using my Coastal Cabana and my blending brush that's for the blue. Picking it up. Oh, yep. Now what you need to do here is you just need to cover up where the grey is so that you're not losing. So it gets a little bit trickier as we progress with flowers, colours. Don't know why I was going to say flowers there. I can feel paper just keeps wanting to lift in this rain. Okay, so just blend, 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 blend. Hopefully I'm not shaking. All right, some gaps. So we need, what I'm going to come and do here is I'm going to bring in the mask. Covering the grey. And even if you've got those distinct shapes you're going to store, it's still going to create, I'm just taking the ink up onto the mask instead of down onto the grey for this. There we go. Excepting I've got some grey there. I wondered, I thought to myself, now when I'm doing this on camera, is it going to actually work or is it going to be a problem? So I'm coming over here. I'm going to mask that and let's fix this. Lifting that up. Okay, we've got some bleed, so I'm going to create a new mask. So what this means is from now on it's going to look different to my previous mask, and that's okay because I can see it's starting to bleed. So I just want to bring in a little bit more Coastal Cabana. If you've got a little blending brush like the Stampin' Up! Now sells, that would be a perfect blending brush for this project. I don't have them at the moment. I might consider getting them. Okay, now we're going to move on to the Flirty Flamingo. And I'm looking for my new mask, which I don't know where I've put. Here it is. So I'm going to take that angle up there. And I'm bringing in my Flirty Flamingo. I'm going to cross over there. And a bit over here. So you're not really noticing those speckles. And one tiny bit more, and then I'm going to just blend without the mask. And I'm going softer at the top. So here I'm just creating like a sunset look. Perfect. All right. Now it's peel and reveal time. So I'm just getting rid of all my inks, getting them out the way so that there's no risk of me messing up anything at this point. And I'm going to gently peel away the masking paper. Bear in mind, obviously, this is the mask. So it's going to be below that I'm needing to be very, very careful. So just release your masking paper very slowly, especially if you're doing this on a day where you've got a lot of moisture in the air like we have at the moment. And there we have it. There we have it. Isn't that beautiful? Beautiful. I love it. And look how different it looks to that one again. But it's each time you do this, it's just going to look different. Okay. Well done. If you've been following me doing this up to now and it's worked out for you as well, congratulations. What you're going to need to do now is you're going to need to cut out that leaf out of some basic white. And you're going to need to cut out 2 sets of the big flowers and 2 sets of the little flowers and 1 background of the bee and 1 of his wings. And we're going to put some glue at the back of this leaf. I might just get my tweezer if I can find it. I do find I prefer to use tweezers when I'm working with delicate jobs like this. Or the other option is you can put a bit of glue on a silicone mat and then use a scrap piece of cardstock and pick it up and scrape it on here. So that's another way of doing it. But with this I'm going to, and I just want to make sure I'm getting glue on that stem. Now, I didn't plan it this way, but this leaf and this size circle are perfect. I genuinely did not plan it that way. I was just, when I pulled out my stamps and I pulled out my circles, I went with the circle shape, and then I found this leaf turned, and they just worked so harmoniously together. And I was like, oh my word, that's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, now we're going to do the bee. So for the bee, I suggest you take your pick tool, and you're just going to punch out all these little bits over here. So you've got that, and then I glued, I just want to pick this up, at the back of the little bee's head. There's a little gap there. You can place some glue, and you just need to position that in place and hold it for a little bit. And then I put a mini dimensional at the back, just in the middle of his body. Be careful you don't move the wings off the body as I did the first time. So this little bee is going to drink from, or pick up some pollen from that supposed leaf. Now we're going to put these flowers together, and I'm just putting a little dot at the back, and I'm putting it in between the big petals. Oops. Again, just hold it down for a few seconds. I really noticed today with the humidity in the air because of our storm, the glues, everything is just taking so long to dry. So I hope while you're watching this, you're having much better weather than what we are having. And I'm popping this one about over there. And then we're going to repeat with this one. We're just going to put some glue in the middle. And offset that. That's the word. Offset it. That's the word I'm looking for. And a dimensional. Okay. And have we lifted that? And that one's going to come down about over here. All right. Now for the sentiment, the thank you, we're going to emboss that. So I've already die cut my circle out of Flirty Flamingo. We're going to need to set it up to emboss. So in order to do that, you're going to need some Versamark, some white embossing powder, and a stamp. And the stamp I'm using is Thank You from Something Fancy. If you've never heat embossed before, you just need to take the static off what you're using, and I like to use a embossing buddy. Use a brush just to take off the excess, and then your sentiment you are going to ink up in your Versamark. So this acts as the glue. Hold it firmly, and then just pack that all away using tweezers again. I like to just bring it over my embossing tray, and I like to spoon over my embossing powder and just knock it off. Now there's a tiny bit under my, and I'll just do it a second coat. I usually coat my embossing when I do heat embossing 2 coats. That looks great. I do see a little bit of powder on the side, so I'll just use my brush and brush that away ever so gently. And now I'm going to use my heat gun to do the embossing, and I will come back once I've done that. Okay, it's all embossed, so all I need to do now is add some more mini dimensionals to the back. You may notice I'm using minis today, and the reason for that is that I have used up all my spare dimensionals in my card classes, and I completely forgot to order some when I put my big order in the other day. So I had to do an emergency order and get some done. So yeah, minis they are. All right, let's put some rhinestones on now. So we're going to add some rhinestones. We'll pop one over here. I just want to get a smaller one over there. We almost finished this card. We just have one more step to do. Rhinestone over here. And the last thing we need to do is we just need to color these two that are left on the thing with my dark Flirty Flamingo alcohol blending pen. So to color, you can do it with pearls, and you can do it with anything, ribbon. It's just amazing how you can make it that it's color coordinated for the project that you're working on. And they go in the middle of the flower of each flower. All right, and now we can glue it onto the mat. So we're almost there. So just using my liquid glue. Of course, you could add foam strips onto it and make it pop up even more. So that's going on there, and now it's going onto my card front. And at this point you could add foam strips if you wanted to, or you can just glue it, which I'm going to do. And just make sure you're opening up the card correctly, getting it nice and straight. Beautiful. Oops, don't move my bee. Oh, that's so beautiful. We've just got one last step to do, and that's the inner. So with the inner, I want to stamp my little bee. Just want to get my stamp off. So I'm using the bee, the gorgeous little bee, and I'm using smoky slate, which I can't find. I'll put them away so that I don't miss anything. So I'm using smoky slate, and I'm just, what have I done with my, oh yep, I just want to bring this underneath just in case I stamp off. I don't want to go onto my mat. So we've got bee, half a bee, quarter bee, and maybe the quarter bee is a wannabe. Bit of a dad joke there. That's a dad joke for my husband, because he always watches my videos. So I've just made a dad joke for my husband, who's such a faithful, amazing supporter of me. So here's a shout out to you, Rich. Thank you. I love you. Okay. And that goes in here. Let's pop this in. And we are done. Straighten that up. Straighten that up. And here's its matching buddy. Isn't that incredible? We used the exact same technique. Look how different that is. I love that one more, actually. It makes me think of a mountain scene. But I'd love to hear which one you love. So in this video, I taught you how to do the post-it tearing blending technique, and I hope you will give that a go. And if you have enjoyed my video and this is the first time you are watching me, I would so appreciate you subscribing and clicking the bell to be reminded of my videos that come in every Thursday evening, New Zealand 7 p.m. And in the drop down box there's a link to subscribe to my newsletter, where I inspire you every week with a project idea or tips and techniques to do with paper crafting. So click on the newsletter subscription link to see some other amazing ideas as well from me. So from my heart to yours, remember, stamp, eat, sleep, repeat until we meet again. And I'll just hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week.